Let's talk about energy manipulation, energy release, energy transformation. So we've already established that we are energy, that everything around us is energy, that we are always surrounded by energy, both outside and inside of ourselves, of our bodies, of our physical bodies. Why do we need to know this? What's the point? What can we do about it? How can we actually coexist with energy in a proactive, purposeful way, rather than just being thrown around by it? How can you build a conscious relationship with your energy? Energy can be manipulated, it can be transformed, it can be released, cannot be destroyed. There's many ways in your day-to-day that you already release energy, some of which you're probably aware of, some of which maybe not. Physical movement releases energy. Anytime that you are moving your physical body, you are releasing energy. Anytime that you are singing or using your voice at all, you are releasing energy. Right now, with every single word that comes out of my mouth, this invisible energy is being released through sound. It just so happens that these words, we as human beings have agreed on the definition of these sounds, as we call it words. And words have different meanings, and meanings have different emotions that are tied to them. And so every single one of these words has different energy. But every single time that I'm speaking a word, I am releasing this energy through sound. Singing, same thing. Chanting, whatever it is that you're doing with your voice, you're releasing energy. There's actually a beautiful tradition, ritual, practice, more like a practice, in indigenous cultures from curanderas, where they had these cleansing rituals called pláticas. Pláticas is really just sharing a story. So what would happen, and still does if you go to these indigenous communities, these curanderas would sit with whoever, needed help in releasing this energy. Similarly to the idea of confession, of like a religious confession. This person would walk in, they would sit down, and then the curandera would say, tell me your honest truth. Tell me whatever it is that's weighing on you, like therapy, right? And the person would then, within this safe space that was created for this person to be able to be honest with no repercussions, this person would basically speak this truth that was weighing on them, that was creating these low vibration energy blocks within their body, like guilt, like anger, like fear, like sadness, all of these things that were creating these negative energy blocks. They would then speak this truth. And as this person would speak, the curandera would then cleans that energy out and transmutes it. I say this because we do this all the time. We do a modern version of this all the time. If you go to therapy, you're releasing energy as you're speaking. Not only the energy of the words themselves, but the energy of the emotions of the things that you are recounting. When you are sharing a story of any sort, you are releasing energy related to that story, and not only to the story itself, but to how that story made you feel. That is why it's so healing to share stories. That's why it's so healing to just speak your mind and, vent and have these spaces. It's healing and it feels good because you're releasing that energy that is weighing on you related to whatever experience you're sharing. That is also why people on the other side of the chair or of the couch need to be also aware of the energy that is being released, because energy travels and energy attaches itself. And sometimes you can be sitting in front of somebody and they can be sharing this very traumatic, painful story. And then suddenly you on the other side, without even realizing it, if you can visualize it as sort of animated, this person is speaking, and with these words, this energy is coming out of their mouth, it's floating in the air, and energy just goes and goes and goes. And then suddenly this energy has some relationship to sadness, and then it finds in the person in front of them a sadness molecule that is there, and it says, oh, same frequency, and then attaches, and then it goes on to that other person. And what happens is that if that other person is not very aware of their energy or protects their energy in certain ways, then suddenly maybe they won't realize anything. But then the next morning they wake up and they say, well, I don't know, I'm feeling a little sad today. And they won't know, oh, I'm feeling my client's sadness necessarily. But perhaps they'll start to think about things in their life that makes them sad. And then they attach and they're like, oh yeah, that's probably why I'm sad. Yeah. And then they start to fill this narrative of their own sadness when really this sadness energy wasn't even theirs to begin with. It's just an example that explains a little bit of how energy travels within the space that we live in our day to day. This also doesn't mean that you shouldn't be sharing in spaces or that you don't want to hear other people's stories. Not at all. Because, for example, somebody can be sharing a story about sadness, about a difficult time in their life. But suddenly for you, this story is a story about resilience and courage, and it inspires you to actually do something about your situation or whatever it is. And so suddenly that energy that was sadness energy coming from them is then transmuted into courage that you receive. There's so many ways in which energy travels, transfers, coexists. And once you understand it, there's so much that you can consciously do in order to have it work for you and with you, and for you to be very conscious of what is happening in the invisible energetic field at any given moment.